All right, looky. I got a cookie. So the voltage regulator finally showed up from Partzilla. I believe this is a factory Polaris replacement, so that should last as long as the original, as long as I don't muck that up. And you'll probably notice in the videos, I don't know if you can hear it all that well, but this belt is super glazed. It's squealing like a stuffed pig. So I got one of these, a Dyno Jet. Never had one of these before, but it says it's got a lifetime warranty. I don't know exactly what that means. You know, and how I glaze this belt, it's not a factory Polaris one though. It's one of the other ones that claims all kinds of other stuff. And I'm gonna give it a break because I over tightened the secondary when I put this all together. And even though it's a conscious effort to try to break these belts in, you know how it goes. One minute you're being nice to it, the next minute you're having fun. To get this regulator in and out, I go from the grill. You would think it'd be easy and simple to come out the top, but it's actually wider than this bracket, in this bracket right here. So it doesn't want to come in or out this way. So it's easier just to go take your grill out, go in from the grill. Okay, so while I'm at it, I'll describe how I'm doing this here because this is oddly a pain in the butt. I have the 1/4-inch ratchet back there, and I'm just holding the socket onto it and using what finger strength I have to hold that back there steady so I could tighten the nut on the front. But also, you're gonna wanna have that left-hand bolt in there, feed it from underneath, get that left-hand bolt with your finger on the back of the bolt, because if it falls, it's a pain. Trust me. Hold the bolt in with your finger, get that left-hand bolt in there. That bolt is relatively easy because you got like side access on this regulator, whereas that left-hand bolt, you have no side access, you have nothing. So get that one in there first, go in from the bottom, get the bolt through, hold it there, start the nut on that bolt, and then the rest is easy. And now, like I said, I got that 1/4-inch ratchet on there, holding that bolt, and then I got the this ratchet on here to tighten it up. When you go to put the connectors on, make sure they click, because those bad boys are tight like a tiger. That OVR code is not gonna disappear on its own once you fix a problem. So what you have to do is turn the key on. You have to hold the mode button. You have to go to options and then hit the down arrow, diagnostic codes, hit options again, and then it'll give you your code. So you're not gonna see my 168 code I had on here, which is the OVR code, because I finally cleared it. These two codes are forever on my bike because of the fuel programmer I have on there. It just doesn't like that fuel programmer. It's giving more fuel to the motor than it thinks it should have at that moment. So in order to clear those codes, just hold mode until it goes back to diagnostic codes. I'll keep an eye on the voltage and make sure it doesn't rise anywhere above 14.5, but I do believe that the voltage regulator was a problem and that solved our issue. Over here, got some things going on over here, and I know what you're thinking. Wow, Paul, you said that was gonna be the race bike and that you weren't gonna do any of the lights. And you'd be right, but before the races, there's a lot of trail riding going on, and sometimes that trail riding happens at night.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
So I'm doing the lights. I'm doing exactly what I said I wasn't gonna do. But this gives me an opportunity because I'm setting it up pretty much exactly how the Black Pearl's set up, kind of show you how I did that. Because there's some things on the Scrambler, some quick, easy places to get power from, key on power especially. So I'll dive into that. Then I'll dive into exactly how I have the bars set up with the new universal bracket like that one, getting this light bar up there. What I'll do is I'll cut the light bar into the existing light bar light, so that way it's one switch, operates both light bars. And you might be wondering why even bother with another light bar when it comes factory with the light bar. I'm not impressed with that Pro Armor. These are both little cheapy Amazon light bars, and they that Pro Armor. But that Pro Armor is nice because it's so slender and it puts out an okay amount of light, perfect for hand-mounted light bars. And I've already mentioned how I like when you're going into corners, you know, at night when you turn the bars, you can see into the corner. There's a night ride that I have. I'll post like a little thing, a little link to that video. So I'm going to start today with getting the headlights in. Now, well, the first thing that you need to do is, let me get the world's worst flashlight in there real quick. There's a screw right there. That's simple enough to get to. But the other screw on the inside, it's not any kind of a fastener per se. It's just a C bracket, little plastic C bracket with like a dowel with a cap. Let's get this fastener off over here. Little Phillips head. Then you can just maneuver this light out. That's all that holds it in, and that's why I had issues with that light falling out on the Black Pearl. And the new lights use a much better mounting system that exists on this plastic. On the inside, you have the little areas for screws to go into. So as you can see, if you're going to use it for the quads, it needs this little bracket because this hole's not in the right place. So this little bracket puts the hole in the right place right here. And that's where you'll start. You'll start bolting up on the top right there, so you know that's right. And then you'll put bolts in here. And it comes with the bolts right there, little screws. I call them bolts or screws. Okay, now that the light is out, you can see that little post I was talking about, little mushroom post. That slides right into this little bracket here. It's supposed to come out in that T shape, but that little flimsy bracket is so weak that I found it pretty hard to get out. But hopefully now that you can see the shape of it, it'll make it a little easier to get to. If you can get in there and hold that tab down, because what it wants to do is flex. And when it flexes, the mushroom cap is not going to slide out of that slot like it's supposed to. With the HMF bracket that holds your light bar right here in front of the hood, there's a main problem with the Scrambler. And that is the hood is supposed to slide forward and then up, because it's got two knives, one right there and one right there. And that's what holds the front of the hood down. So what I've done on the Black Pearl, as you can see, is I've added these latches, little spring-loaded latches right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break those two knives off, add my latches, but for right now, I just need the hood out of the way. One thing I should mention is that if you do get the HMF bracket, I've bought this twice now. Both times the stock bolts aren't long enough once you add this on there. So you're gonna need to find yourself some longer bolts. Thread pitch and all that, I'm not real good on, so you gotta figure that out on your own.
Spank you, helpy helperton.
But also,
Oh, I don't think I'm a lot dumber than you thought that I thought I was once.
so this, I bought one from BVC off-road for the Black Pearl, but they don't offer that anymore, and I'm not sure why. It's a lot beefier than this, but I made do. So what I did was I traced that one, and then I cut it. I bought this perforated material, just a sheet of it, and then I just cut it out. So this, what it's gonna do is it's gonna add an extra layer of protection, metal protection, in between rocks and my radiator and my voltage regulator.
You know, this is a safe space.
Which sticks out like a sore thumb. But also, while I have the hood off, these right here, they're auxiliary little power wires. So there's power going to these, and the most important and cool part is that they're key on. So I utilize these for the beauty rings, little LED beauty rings on those lights. I like those to have those on key on power. So I'm gonna steal that key on power from one of these, and then the other one is still free for any other accessories I'd like to add on there later. One of the things to look out for with these lights, if you hook them up and then you turn the switch on and your lows are brights and your brights are lows, it's as simple as that green wire and that yellow wire need to be flip-flopped. It's real easy. I just take my flat nose pliers, grab those little shanks, and then I push them out, and then I just flip them around and then push them in. Real simple. Now you see how that looks. It looks a little like counterintuitive because yellow is leading into green, then green is leading into yellow, but I don't know why. It's just how these lights in particular are made. It was the same way on the Black Pearl when I installed it on theirs. Can I turn this on without the cage in? Appears so. So, low, high. There we go. You see that little added layer in there? Boom, high. So I'm getting it in, and how I did it was I started with this one up top there. I did the one with the bracket first since that's maneuverable, and you can see it from both ends. You can see it from up here in front and in back. And the one thing that I have trouble with is that one up there, the screw in there. Can't even hardly see it there because the shock's in the way. If you have a really long screwdriver, maybe. I don't have a really long one that has that same small head profile. So I actually... Hi, this is Future Paul. I'm editing this video currently. And I was telling you guys that I used a screwdriver shaped like this to get to those headlight screws. That was something I used way back, and even later on in that video, I just forgot to record it. I remembered that I went and bought myself one of these. It's an Icon screwdriver kit, and as you can see, it's like a ratchet that uses the bits, the screwdriver bits. This thing is an absolute lifesaver. And if you own a Scrambler, I highly suggest, it doesn't have to be exactly this kit, but a kit like this is super useful to get in that spot I was talking about with the headlight that's in front of your front shock, because it's such a tight spot, and this is super helpful. It being ratcheting, but also the profile is super narrow from the back of the head to the head of the screw. And what something that is also extremely useful for is, I actually don't have the Green Hornet here, so we're using the Black Pearl as an example. So under here, you have the bolts that help tighten your risers to your steering stem. And as you can see, they're extremely hard to get to. Now, over the years of riding, I came across this problem where these would get loose eventually, and then my whole bars would start wiggling and moving a little bit. So I have to tighten these periodically. In order to get in there, this is what I found works best. And I have to do this like every so often, so this is a lifesaver. I'll make a video on what I take with me on these longer rides, especially, like my whole list of gear. But this in particular is super useful. I take it with me all the time, no matter where I'm going, because if those bars loosen up, you'll have loose bars during your ride, and that's no fun. You can't really can't ride aggressive like that. So, highly recommend, super useful tool. Obviously Icon, get it from Harbor Freight. It's really not bad. It goes on sale every once in a while too. I got it while it was on sale. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it, but highly recommend. Anyway, back to the rest of the video. So I wanted to point out some things with the universal LED light bar bracket. If you want to try this setup and you want to keep your stock pod here, which I do, you have to flip the bracket upside down compared to how it's meant to be bolted on there, because if you flip it the right side up, it actually interferes with the bracket for your pod. So flip it upside down, and when you do that, you have to channel out the side profile here. I'll pull this off of here. I still have to do some more massaging on this anyway. So you have to channel the side profile of this out like that. I know it makes it look weak, but that's actually sturdier material than you think it is. And Black Pearl's had that for a long time now, and I've had zero issues with it, including the little channel there for the light bar to go into. I was worried it was going to slide out of there, but just put some Ugga-Duggas on that thing and you'll be fine. That's that notch job I did to fit the bars in there so it could be flipped upside down so I could still use a pod. But here's something that you can notice right away. That being pinched in there, this is your brake line. You don't want that. Even though I've ground these edges smooth so they won't cut into nothing, you don't want that rubbing in there like that. So this is what I did on the Black Pearl as well. I took some fuel line, and then I'll just zip tie this fuel line right there to protect my brake line. Something to look out for if you are gonna install these rocker switches up here like I got that light up. The Black Pearl has them in the same location. I messed up on these ones though. I cut that hole too close to this edge, and because it was too close to this edge, there's actually the mounting bracket right there that this is supposed to slide right next to. There wasn't enough room, so I actually had to trim the metal mounting bracket out where the switches are. So I wish I didn't have to do that, but I had already cut holes, so I had to cut more holes. So anyway, just make sure when you cut these, you try to push them up as far as possible if you don't want to have to modify this bracket in here. Also, the performance drive mode switch. How I do that is the power that comes into the switch. So you have a terminal that's power in. I cut the orange wire on the performance drive mode switch, and the orange wire coming into the original switch goes into the battery supply power to the switch. And then I splice the orange wire that goes into the actual switch portion of the drive mode switch into the accessory terminal of this switch. So power goes in, and then it stops there while the switch is off. And then once I turn it on, it connects a circuit, and then the power goes into your performance drive mode switch, which is just tied down in here, and permanently clicked onto the performance mode. And that's how I have that rigged up. This light bar in particular, I would not get this one from Amazon, specifically because of where the wires and connection point comes out facing directly backwards. So if you do go with the HMF grill bracket for this light bar and you want to move it down there, the wire points straight back at the hood, so it would not fit here. So I've actually drilled a hole into my hood. Wish I hadn't gone in this direction. Wish I would have thought that through a little bit more.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
But it's on there now, so it is what it is. Okay, let me show you the new light situation. So you might be thinking that's pretty bright, but that is just the halos. And I have those on the key on power, so those will be on when the key's on, just like the Black Pearl. And those are fairly bright all by themselves. And then you add in the headlights. Those are on the dim, low setting. And then here is the brights. And then here is the light bars. And as you can see, I have pretty good coverage. So I should be able to cover every ounce of these trails.